Welcome back to the Krown Crypto channel. And as you can see in front of your face, we are joined here by longtime friend of this channel, Mr. Fibbo Swani, who has accurately called some of the major macro turns in this market for multiple years now, which is just incredibly impressive. And I'm very, very happy to have you back on. I know a lot of people in this community are also very happy to have you back on as well. So I'm just going to hand things over to you. Go through your whole setup, and we'll see where things kind of align.
All right, man. I'm glad to be back. It's been a little while. I've had some people DM me and say, "Hey, when you get back on Krown Show?" Well, here
Maybe
we are.
when something happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the whole thing. We've been in this this period of consolidation, and just kind of, complacency can kind of set in.
Yeah.
And people just kind of sit back, and then and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh shit, I'm missing opportunities." But really, I just wanted to, take the time and kind of go through all the different time frames. I have a couple macro charts. One's a little off the wall, but I thought was kind of interesting.
That's perfect. That's perfect for today.
Yeah. So I get right into it if you want me to, there, Krown.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw your charts right up on over here. Right. So
let's see it. Sounds good. I'm gonna start out with the 1 hour and work our way up. Just 1 hour. If you're trading the chop, because we've been in this area of chop for a little bit. It did go into the bull zone. What was that? Like on the 13th, May 13th. Popped up a little bit, came back down, and then hit the support at the entry of the point there. It actually just touched the bottom of the bull zone, so it held as it was holding the support here, and then started taking off. It actually hit. Actually, if you're trading, you probably traded out already. But if not, it hit this high, came back down and hit the shallow fib, so you'd be back long again, and then working our way up to the 67.3. So if you've been trying to play the chop, the 1 hour has actually worked pretty well on the bull zones that we've had over the last month or so. But I really don't trade the 1 hour myself. More of the 4 hour and daily swing trader. But the hour, I just wanted to start off with that, just to kind of show. Plus, it's a good picture on how my system works too. So you get into the bull zone right here, and then you have your target set from the previous threshold that was the bear zone here. So basically, if you bought when you got in, you probably sold near this fib extension here between 64.7 and 65.2, and then you would have had that profit, which would have been good, but then you wouldn't be long again until here, because it actually went up a little higher. But another thing that you'll see when we look at these charts is when you have the 127 to 141, when you get the three settles above the 141 off my previous threshold, the probability of going to the 200% kind of elevates and becomes a more probable trade. Even though we corrected back, you bought, and then it's working its way back up to that 200% without failing the support here at the 127, which so happens to be the shallow fib on the new zone. So what's cool about all of this is, like, and what keeps driving me into the fib world is, it's amazing the patterns that you'll see no matter what time frame you look at. It's very interesting on how all that works. Takes my emotion out of the markets. I don't give a shit what's going on in the news. I really just follow the patterns, the proportions, the indicators, and they let me know a lot of which way the market's headed. So let's move on over to the 4 hour, which this one's also we've had a little bit of chop. The last two trades I had actually got us out with a slight loss, but that kind of happens sometimes in the consolidative world. It's really most strategies are probably set up to where you have small losses and large gains, because you want to take on the trend and grab all of that when the trend actually reestablishes, once we get out of this mess that we've been in for a while. But so far, this latest one has worked pretty well, and we went into the bull zone here. I set the fibs based on my rules, and then You would have bought, because the previous shallow fib here is 61,779 had three settles. So once it went into the bull zone, you bought, but it actually kind of came back down and kind of tested your patience there a little bit as we went long here. But then it popped up and then hit the first target up here in the extension area, went a little bit higher and then came back down, and now we're long again to where we have a target of 68.6, which is the 200% level that we're looking for. Now, so far, we haven't had the 3 consecutive settles. I'd like to see above the 141, but given that it's held the shallow fib here and we're well into the bull zone, momentum on the ADX is still showing that the buying interest is there. We also had a break of this trend line and a little bit of a throwback to the line, and got some buying interest off that. So if you got the measurement off the trend line break, the low to the high here, you take that same rate of change, and that gives us a signal that we could possibly be making new highs on this run that we're starting to have. So that's what I'm kind of looking at on the 4 hour, and so far the 2 bear zones I had where we got a little bit of a loss on the chop, we've already made back on the trades that we've had on the 4 hour. So that on the latest bull zone. So right now I'm kind of, after all of this, range bound crap that we've seen for a couple months here, I'm kind of back break even on the 4 hour and ready to take off on the upside. So that's what I'm
actually. Just before you go on, I wanted to ask a very selfish question. So within your system, is one of your general rules, at least the way that I might be interpreting it, is that anytime that you do close over any one of your major fibs, then if you get three settles, then it'll likely go to the next major fib. Is that correct? Or am I kind of simplifying things a little bit too much?
Actually, the only time I look at that is on the extensions. Okay. So really it's more along the lines of, if we're starting to, this is the previous zone here,
right?
And the new zone that we're in here. So if the times that I look at it are during these extension points here. So as this rallies up and it gets to this point, if it's going to reverse back, that's going to be the first area that it's going to be likely. And actually, I have a daily chart that's going to lay this out really nicely.
Okay.
But when I talk about the 3 settles, actually the 3 settles for me is a break of anything on any support or any resistance. If it's a trend line, a fib line, anything like that, that's just my conservative way to let me know that it's flipped one way or the other.
Right.
But when it's coming to the movement to the upside, where the extensions come into play is if this stayed up here and did not retrace back to the shallow fib, and we didn't get bought on the correction back to the downside, and it stayed up here and continued higher, and you were not long because you already took profit, then if you got 3 settles above the 141, you would want to reestablish your long position to have the 200% as your next target. So that's the way I would kind of use it. So I would rather have it come down and hit the shallow fib, of course, and get that opportunity in the market, get long down here, and then get up to the target. But if you take profit and the trend's really strong, that extension, 3 settles above that extension, gets me back into the market and getting back long to ride the trend. That's really the only main reason that I use it when it comes to my strategy. I think that's what you're asking, right? Or did
yeah, precisely. Yeah. Okay.
All right. I'll have another one on the daily chart that you'll see, and we can talk about it a little bit more there. So,
cool.
Any other insights, questions?
I'm just following you right now, man.
All right, cool. But this is the first sign that because the last couple of bull zones that we had, we did not have this type of breakout here to where we had that trend line break and then a retest. And then we starting to go higher. Now, of course, I'd like to see it push up here, but with the momentum, the ADX is in the 30s, and the green positive directional index is nice and strong. This is kind of moving nicely. So, on a 4 hour over 4 hour candle, as we're moving here, it looks like we should have enough buying interest to push us through this. And then, of course, once it gets to the high, I'll probably hit some stops and help us get up to that target of 68.6. So what I'm hoping will happen is we get up and hit our target, and then if you move the fibs up to that point, if it gets to that area, the shallow fib would be at 66.250 here, and hopefully it would retrace back. And then once it breaks out, I can reestablish new fibs back here. But this target up here would be a nice one to kind of have some exposure to hold as long as we're in the bull zone. to work our way to that new high, kind of thing. So that's really what I'm looking at there. Nothing crazy. I'm just waiting to get out of this consolidation, and we're just about there. The one thing that I'm actually looking for is on the daily, and so far the daily, this is another kind of thing with my system, is the daily went into the bull zone. Momentum is not like the strongest in the world, but one of the things that I also look for is 3 consecutive settles above the previous shallow fib. So those are the 2 rules. So once the RSI goes into the bull zone, and you set your fib line here, this vertical line, and then I set my fibs. The buy signal on top of that, once the RSI goes into the bull zone, you have to have 3 consecutive settles above the previous shallow fib. Now you did right here, but then again, you had 3 back down below. So now it actually reestablished to where we've had this long green candle is the first one. The second one is up here. And then we're on the 3rd day right here. So if we settle above the 62,141, which I'm hoping that we do by the end of today, this will be the 3rd day on the settle. So at close tonight, if it's above there, that's the buy signal that I want for my daily. And then that would give us a target of the 100% here to trade it at 71.2, which is the 100% off the previous. So right now, that's what I'm looking for. So yes, the daily has went bull. However, it's not like, for my system, it hasn't told me that we're out of this consolidation yet. Once we close tonight, we'll help solidify a lot of this support that we've been seeing on the downside, and kind of help and then make this 56.5 a much higher probability that the low is in for now, and we're going to start working our way back up. Now it could be working our way back up, but in a nice slow trend, because it is summer. Summer's usually pretty quiet. We might range bound up here, but we might range bound in a new realm, kind of break that new high, and maybe work from 73 to 79 or so, and maybe we chop in there for a while and then head higher later. But I don't know that. I'll just follow it and let the market come to me, because instead of me trying to figure out what the market's going to do. But right now, that's what we're looking at there. I'd like to see that 3rd settle. Now, until that happens, I've left all this downside because I had some buy targets down here in case it wanted to wick down into some of these levels. The 61.8% level back here at 54.7 was one of them, and then the trend line break was around 51.7. So which matched up really nicely with the 61.8% level back here at 51.9. But those targets, I had the limit orders in case it wanted to wick down and get me. It did not. But I am still long from a previous one that's never hit the target yet at 59.3. I'm still long at that level, and I will add longs to it on the close tonight, and then I'll just dollar cost average those positions and move forward from there. Because my other target that I had for excuse me was up in the 75 to 77 area, which should have taken us to a new high, but the market decided to break here and go into this area consolidation. So I'm looking for that breakout there. Now, looking at the daily in a different way, this is where the extent, because what I was trying to do was, as we're in this period of consolidation, I wanted to see if we were going to be breaking out of that consolidation to the downside. And what I would do is I would look at all the fib extensions. So we can start back here on this one, all the way down at 38.5 up to the high. The key shallow fib on that was at 60,335. And this level was kind of my line in the sand. And I was kind of waiting to see if there was 3 settles below it. We had this one that came down, and that's where we touched that low. And then that second candle right here. But that third candle went back up. So this key shallow fib to me was a good signal that that low was in, and then we popped back up, and it kept us in this area that basically saying that the consolidation is sideways and not, but it's still leaning to a breakout to the upside. instead of a breakout to the downside.
Mm.
So with that holding. Now, the other ones that I'm looking at are if you take the low here and work our way up to the high, the blue fibs here, 100% was at 67.71. And then what I want to look at are the extensions. So between 55.8 and 57.5 was a range that I wanted to look at for a possible low or a reversal. And then also, once this broke this trend line, came down here, worked its way back up to this exact point. I also took the low here to this high, and once that low once this 100% made a new low, the 127 to 141 gave us a much smaller range between 56.3 and 57.4, which is also inside this range. So both of those together is going to be a nice spot to look for a possible reversal from this move to the downside. And we wicked right into that point. We kind of hit the bottom of this black 141%, and kind of the 56.5 fell in this range pretty nicely too. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get that bought. I wish I would have, but I was also still long at 59.3, and I had a stop. I had a stop on that. I had a stop on that 59.3 if we had that third settle underneath the ski shallow fib. Then I would have got out because everything would have flipped to a little bit more of a bearish move, much more than what we were looking at. But it held, and we're kind of going from there. So this kind of shows the way I use those extension levels as areas to watch for those reversals. And so far, it's working pretty well. So now that we've established that, this low and then these lows, I'm watching this trend line is kind of our guide of support as we go forward. And then we're getting close to this previous high here. And if we get that third settle above that, just like we saw in this chart here in my zone, then that buy would give us that 71.2 target. And then basically we'll get above this high here and break out to the upside. But now resistance is here, and we're testing it, and then the support's going to be this trend line. So it's just my insight of how I use the fibs to figure out if consolidation is going to break one way or the other.
Right. Yeah, I'm following you. Okay.
Yep. All right. Cool.
Interesting. Everyone has their own secret sauce for kind of defining when consolidations break.
Yeah. Exactly. And I use this because it works well with my system. Let me get a little coffee there. Just waking up here this morning.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Take time.
That's
flowing though. We're good.
All right. Now let's move on over to the weekly. And this has been my the one to really watch to see if we're going to go from a primary bull trend back to a bear trend. And so far, the bull trend is still working pretty well. Now, there's a few things I've put on here, and one of them is all these different corrections that I had on here. Because this latest correction that we had, Twitter was going nuts. Everybody was thinking that the sky was falling, and everything was going back to 8,000. But what I looked at here was I just looked at all the different corrections that we had on this motive wave to the upside. And this one was 22%, basically 20%, 21. Yes, we had this one down to 23%, or basically 23.5. But the thing is this corrected back to the bottom of this fib extension zone off of my previous. Same kind of thing. It all works in all different time frames. This bear zone, once it broke the 100% here, this range right here was going to be that first level of target for take profit target on the way up. But we broke to the upside and had 3 settles above the 141%, which gives us the probability that the 79.7, which is the 200% level, should come into play with a much higher probability. Of course, as long as the support holds, which so far it has. We corrected back to the bottom of this area right here. It wicked all the way down right at the bottom. And that's where I marked here that the support hit it pretty nicely. And then found that buying interest right at that point, which is interesting because this isn't where people would normally take their fibs. This is based on the zones. So to have it bounce from that 127% very nicely like that is a good thing on my side, because I feel like, you know, my system still's working and it doesn't need to be changed, or maintenance doesn't have to be done or anything like that. So it's working the way it should. So we found some buying interest here, popped up, then it came back down to the top of the range here at 68.82 last week, as it was starting to work its way back down. And I think that's where people were going, like, oh my gosh, we're going back down, and everything's getting kind of nuts. But as this price was coming down to this point, we were still maintaining a bullish position on here, and of course the bull zone still well intact. The bear zone, it could have went all the way down to 46.4 on the weekly and still maintain bullish, which is so crazy. But we've had a nice run to the upside here. So what I'm looking at now is, since this held here and we're working our way to the upside, and hopefully we get that, that third settle on the daily. So that would make our hourly, our 4 hour, our daily and weekly all bull, which you should be comfortable.
It's the stars aligning.
Yeah, exactly. So right now the pop on this, with the next target is at 79.7. So if that works its way up to there, then most likely your previous highs will become support. Most likely, we'll have to see what it looks like when it starts to get that done. And then you got other targets that I use, based on trend-based extensions and those kind of things. Then it works. Because there's this one here that the 300% matched the high that hit already, but the 500%, which I'm using fib numbers here, this comes out to be 106.911, which if you break this high, the extensions up here give us a 105 to 110, which that 106.9 kind of falls into that time frame. So I'm kind of looking at this area between 105 and 110. And I have another chart which is kind of off the wall that kind of shows 108 as a target. So what I'm trying to say is, based on what I'm looking at, that previous low that we just had a few weeks ago should hold. I mean, the one that we're seeing here on the weekly, and then maintain this bullish structure to where 108's the target, and 108 would be the target around November of this year. Nothing that's going to happen overnight or anything like that. But everything is maintaining the structure to where that 108 target should be had sometime in November, and I'll show you some other stuff there. But that's what I'm kind of looking at on the weekly. And again, this is going to be my support guide on the weekly going forward. This trend line here, we're actually starting to get a little more elevated here. You could probably get some more a trend line going this direction, and have this as a support guide. And if this ends up breaking, then most likely it could drop all the way back down to this one. But this is going to be the nice guide of support going forward. So this is going to be your range to watch over the next several months as we go forward there. So in other words, all these corrections that we had on the weekly, this latest correction is no different than what we've seen the last 4 or 5 times. So if it wants to maintain that structure, I'm game, and I'm going to continue to stay long.
Yeah, I hear you on that. It's interesting, actually. I've done a very similar analysis to this with regards to like the percent drawdowns, and it does seem to be kind of like the cycle of the flavor sort of drawdown percentage. But also what you might find interesting as well is the time is starting to line up with I think it was the ones that we got in like Q2 of last year, 2023, those like 62-day long corrections. We're getting to about 62 days in this current trajectory as well. So, timing wise, it does seem, and percentage wise, it does seem like this, could very well be it. And I'm of the opinion, just personally, that if Bitcoin is going to continue, then obviously the low's already in. If Bitcoin does go below the current lows, we're probably looking at like a very prolonged correction, like very, very long correction. And then
I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
because the weekly here would go into the bear zone. Yeah, and as you can see, once it went into the bear zone here, it corrects pretty hard. So right. So, but right now it's holding. But yeah, I'm with you. If we end up breaking that, that 50, whatever that was, that 56.5,
Yeah.
Most likely we're going to be breaking in bear zone, and it's going to get ugly from there.
Now, tell me if you agree with this as well. An idea that I've been mulling over and trying to get a fully formed analysis around is that assuming that Bitcoin does continue from here, not correct anymore, but continue from here, the low's already in essentially, then this cycle probably finds its high before end of this year. Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah, we're on the same page there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
starting to I mean, is that what you're kind of talking about with my 108 target for November?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be the end of this cycle, and then we'd have a correction.
Right.
But it could be a correction to where we have another 5 waves to the upside even after that.
Yeah, of course. But like a correction that could last quite some time. I mean,
yes. Yeah. True.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Okay. But so far, everything, I mean, I'm just going to follow the system, and if it wants to correct back to levels that hold and it makes new highs, I mean, I got to step it up and keep trading all the way up. The next chart I have here, I'm looking at a couple different time frames here. This is a 2-month, and I really liked this pattern that I saw on the stock on the Stochastic RSI. Based on these breakout of these trends here, we had this correction down, and then we went up, and then broke to the upside here. Same thing here. You broke this and had to move to the upside. But when you look at this, you kind of had the Stochastic RSI making its reversal here, and near the low, and it worked its way up here. And then they rode each other together, and then had to cross over up this way, and then it worked its way back down. Same thing here. It got to this point, made a low, and then broke out. So when you look at this, the same kind of pattern is happening with the low here, and it's working its way up. The lines are running parallel at the moment, and you're getting to this area right in here where the blue and the orange levels are at this area of breakout, and we're starting to just get there to where we could have that area of breakout. And then, as you can see, once it broke out, this one had many months. This one had, even if we got this one 2, 3, 4 before it broke back down, and that's 8 months right there. So if we get into this area right in here and we start breaking out to the upside, this is a good signal that over the next few months, at least the next 6, if this wants to hold this kind of pattern, the next 6 months should give us a break to the upside, and get us to that 108 target or whatever. It could be a little higher than that. The 108 to me is kind of the minimum. But but I also put on here the high to high to high here. So every time it made that high, if you measured this out to the next high, this comes in at November of 25, just like we saw on these highs. So all of this together is just showing that we might be just on right on the edge of getting us into that bullishness. And I think the daily going into the bull zone, and we're starting to get some nice red flag signals to say, hey, maybe this is the time that we're starting to break. And as the Stochastic RSI is starting to break that level, we could have this. This will be the area of a nice move to the upside. So I kind of like this pattern, so I just wanted to share it. Because I look at all different patterns and time frames, but this one was kind of interesting. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
It would kind of play hand in hand with that idea that, we probably do see the high before the end of this year, but because there's so much space between that time and then your next sort of, is that a sine wave or what is it?
Up here?
Yeah.
No, it's just a cycle.
Okay.
When you said it, I was looking at these breakouts. So I just set this from the high to the high.
Yeah.
And then when you do that same time frame going backwards hits the high.
Okay.
So to me, if you have that high and then you go to this one, you got that exact same time period to hit this one. And then you have this exact time period to hit this in November.
I see. Yeah.
Not to say that will happen, but I like the setup.
Of course. I mean, as you said before, like it's very difficult to do this stuff like super far out. But I mean, running with that assumption, which I really am leaning towards, especially with the way that May is shaping up as we pass the halfway point, that things probably do continue from here. We probably do see an explosion into end of year, and then maybe, you know, if that top end production is correct, you know, maybe we see like a big sell off followed by kind of a double bubble, similar to what we saw in 2013, 2014. I mean, you know, spitballing ideas, of course, but
no, it makes sense to me.
could happen. Yeah.
Yeah, no, very easily, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and keep in mind, like, let's just, I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, go for it. It's your show, man, not mine.
It's all good, man. No, I bring you on here to hear your opinion. You know, let's project that Bitcoin does get to, let's just say $100,000 November. Okay. Just again, no one hold me to these numbers, just for example's sake. You know, if it were to correct 20 to 30% from there, which is a significant correction, I mean, that brings Bitcoin back down to like 60, $70,000, which is pretty much the prior all-time highs. Could lead into another double. I mean, that could be your double bubble, actually, which is fucking insane. But
yeah, actually, I think it's setting up pretty close to that kind of pattern for sure.
Yeah.
Not like you said, don't quote us exactly happening that way.
Yeah, for fuck's sake, not on this
but
one.
It's you know, I put it this way:
it's a possibility.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
I'm with you. I wouldn't
be like, oh my god,
it hasn't been invalidated for me just yet.
That's what. Exactly.
It seems
good point.
Feasible.
Yeah, good point. All right, let me go on to my next pattern here. Now this one's a little off the wall, but I was pissing around with some things here. This one was around the halvings, and what I did here was once we went into this latest halving here in 2024, which is the black line, which is, you know, this is the price going into this point. But what I did was I went back and I put in the movement of each one of these prior halvings or post halvings. So this green move is the 2012 move post halving. 2016 is the blue, and then 2020 is the red. So one thing that I noticed was when I overlaid these, each one of these made their high within this green zone. So the green up here made its high toward November. This 2016 one was right around this point, and the red's right in there. So what I did was I highlighted this zone in green, which also helps the cycle that we saw here come in November of 2025 to where if this moves up, the timing of it would be for the high to be hitting sometime in that area, which the November hits that green zone. So that was the first thing I saw on there. Then I started to look at some other weird things here. I put trend lines on each one of these. And then the break of this trend line, I put these vertical lines just so you can see it. So the break of this came in, and I put the same kind of cycle looking thing, these little semicircles. Once this green broke, I set it right here. And then the blue broke its trend line here to where it went back down at this point. And then the red broke its right at this point. So you can see there's a little bit of a cycle of when they broke, once they broke the trend. So now, of course, we don't have the black line in here yet because, you know, we have to get there first.
Might be able to project a little bit though, just because it is decreasing in its curvature.
Yeah.
And this is like a total thought experiment, like really fucking going out into the deep end. But
yeah. But what I did with these percentages here was how much of a move from one to the other, how much higher it was versus the other high. Okay. So I know it's kind of confusing, but
I'm following you.
Yeah. So this one was 502%, and then this one's 283% going from the red to the blue here. So what I did was I took that ratio of that difference, and then when you take that ratio, the target for this one brings us at almost 109. Which makes sense to me because when we were looking back at, you know, some of these other targets, I got targets up here between 105 and 110. I got a target here at 107. And then, you know, back on the daily or the weekly, I had the I lost it, but you know what I'm talking.
Yeah.
I had the 108, and this one came in pretty close to 109. So so based on the ratio of the high to high to high here, the ratio here would put this move at 108 in November, which would put us right around this point. So basically, you have this area in here as your basically your market opportunity based on post-halving price movements, which I thought was kind of interesting. So like what you said, it can help you kind of project later on of when that would break, when those things would break. But the interesting thing is when you were talking about that 108 or whatever as that top before we go into a much larger correction, the way this would set up is you would actually hit 108 and you would actually hit you would actually correct back pretty quickly based on this pattern. So you'd hit the 108, you would correct, and then we would have a large correction pretty quickly within a 2-month range, based on how this is all. I mean, not to say this is going to, you know, like you said, don't quote us on this. This is just patterns, but that's the way it's kind of setting up. But the main thing I liked was based on the prior halving price movements. I like that November high is matching that 108 based on my other time frames and based on my fib extensions based off of my fib model. So it's all working out pretty good. So I thought this one was kind of interesting too. I know it's probably confusing, but I was really just looking at post-halving stuff there. Any questions on this one before I move on?
No, it's that actually was I'm still digesting it a little bit, but
yeah, it takes a little bit on this one. There's a lot that you can actually do with this, and I'll probably dig more into it. I just kind of ran out of time before I jumped on here with you. I was working on this a couple days ago.
I'm just it kind of fits into some of the things I'm looking at as well, but it's like it's so out of left center that
No, I hear you.
I'm kind of it's like the wheels are turning, so hopefully I can also do some with this as well. But yeah.
All right. And then on my last one here, this is the 21 day, because I look at all the fib levels. Like I look at the 8 day, the 21 day, you know, I use all the different fib numbers for different timings. So what I was looking at on this one was, first of all, I was looking at a lot of different things to find different patterns or whatever. But the one of them that I looked at was when you take the high on the fib here down to the low. I was looking at the 38.2 and the 61.8% on the counter trend going back this direction to see if there was any correlation between all these different breaks. And the one thing that I noticed was if you took the trend line break and then took the same rate of change from the lowest point to the trend line, and then you take that same rate of change, just like I've shown in other examples, the level was right here. And as you can see, the price went up to that point, came back down, and then broke it to the upside, which in this case, it went right through the 61.8% level here and gave us that nice run to the upside, went up, came back down, and then retested, and then went higher. So basically, it broke out, and we had this area of, you know, nice bull run. Then I did the same thing on this one, take the high to the low, and then I took the same kind of thing, this trend line break, take the same rate of change here, and then you had this same kind of thing. It broke up to that point, came back down, and then it broke up through the 61.8% level and gave us that area of run here. And then I did it again here, take the lowest point to the line, same rate of change, worked its way up to the target. This one actually corrected all the way back down to this point. Now, these other ones didn't. They broke out and took off. But this one actually went up, came back down, but it never broke this level of breaking the trend. And then it went back up. And then once it broke this level, which was marked there, which is pretty close to the 61.8% level, then we had this move to the upside. So now where are we today? Broke the trend line, took the rate of change, actually hit the target, just like we did on this one, just like on this one, just like on this one. We corrected back, and now we're working our way back up. And then once we break that, we will be on our way to the upside. And right now, with all of the different time frames, You know, with the Stoke RSI looking good for the breakout here. We're looking good on the hold on support here on the weekly. The bulls are still maintaining control. You got the daily, you know, holding support. Never broke my previous shallow fib here with no 3 settles. So you got a nice settle there to solidify a low. And then, you know, daily's about to go into the bull zone. 4 hour, 1 hour. It's all working together to where new highs should be. In other words, it's leaning toward new high possibilities before a new low, put it that way, to be a little bit more conservative in my talking. But I do like the way the things are setting up to where my call is going to be that 108 for November of this year. But of course, this would get negated if we broke those levels on the weekly that we were looking at. You know, like we were talking about, if it got down to a certain level here and broke this low and broke this trend line, it could really get ugly with a much larger correction. But so far, it's holding that support. So that's where I'm at on BTC. Unless there's anything else you want to check out, that's what I was kind of looking at there.
I think we've run it through as well as we can, man. I know that you do have a time constraint here, so I want to be respectful of that. But unless you have anything else to say, man, I just want to say thank you for coming on. I don't even have a camera anymore, so this is the Fibbo Swanee show, but it's a pleasure as always, man, really. And as always, you're welcome to come on whenever you want. I suspect that we'll check in on this in a few months' time when we have some new price action to be looking at.
Yeah. I mean, if something crazy happens, you know, I can come back on and show.
Oh,
but,
for sure.
But right now, everything, if it's going to go the way it should, yeah, I'll probably be talking to you in a couple months, maybe 3 months, and see how things are going.
I hear you, man. Alrighty. It's been good as always, and we'll have you on again soon. And of course, I should let everyone know that you can find Fibbo Swanee's links in the description below, also in the comment section. Check out his Twitter; he's very prolific there. Also, TradingView, and then you also have your own site, I do believe, as well, where you can actually learn directly.
Links in the Twitter, that kind of thing.
Perfect. Yeah, and you can learn directly from the man himself the whole Fibonacci system, which is pretty damn cool and unique from what I've seen and from the people that I've spoken to. So. Awesome, man. Thanks again. And until next time.
All right. Thanks, man.